Okay. Looks like we're live again with Costly Conversations. We made a little bit of a mistake previously. We were only streaming to the original Armed Atlas channel and not the Costly Conversations podcast channel. So if you were watching that stream and you're hopping back over, thank you so much for tuning back in. And of course, for those of you hopping on the Costly Conversations channel, welcome to Costly Conversations. I'm super excited because we have the one and only Daryle Rostic in the house with us. But before we get into the conversation again and kind of go over some of the things that we were discussing, I did want to just let you guys know we are doing something really cool on April 8th here in the city of Tyler, Texas. We are doing a range day, and I'm super excited because it's going to be low cost, making sure people can get some basic firearms instruction and actually get a chance to get their hands on some firearms and maybe for the first time ever. So if you are in the area or you are interested in helping out in some way, shape, or form, hit me up. Maybe there's something that you can do to kind of be part of what we're doing. But of course, thank you so much for supporting me. And thank you specifically to the guys who support me on Patreon and exist in the private Discord channel. You guys are really some of the driving force behind making change and innovating and doing different things. So thank you so much for that. And of course, now, onto the show. We did want to just reiterate some of the points that we were talking about before. For those of you who maybe didn't hear, we were talking to Daryle Rostic about his AR-15 platform, the RA-15, and let's kind of get right back into that. My man, Daryle Rostic, welcome to the show for the second time today.
Yeah, man. I got welcome twice. I feel special.
Very special. Ain't nobody more special than Daryle Rostic on this beautiful Sunday. So,
Man.
yeah, man. Well, I know earlier we were talking about how you, in manufacturing your rifle, you are confident in the quality because you're getting your same parts, you're getting them manufactured, basically in the same factory as some of the big guys who everybody's been trusting for forever. Let's talk about that
Absolutely.
a little bit. Let's talk about um, how not so much what we were discussing before, as in like you're in the same factory as Arrow and some of the other places, but let's talk about this buy once cry once mentality, where you're putting out a quality product. It's not cheap. What does that? I suppose how do you I guess look at price point when it comes to putting out a product.
One of my mentors, and I got to shout out my guy Steve. He owns a gun shop in West Michigan called Dart. Steve is a great mentor of mine, and he was very adamant to me about not being the cheap guy. Do not put out a product with the goal of affordability. Because once you put out a cheap product, there's no going back. There's no trying to elevate. Of course, you could try to raise your prices over time, but the idea of people, no one's going to buy a $1,500 product if you are entering the market at $500. Like they don't want the 1,500 because they can buy three of the $500 ones. Um, and that budget space is so hard to play in as a manufacturer because you almost like you have to have some sort of business or competitive advantage in order to play in that budget space because it's just hard, man. It's hard. Like we don't have cheap labor here in America. So if you're paying premium for your product, for your raw components, and then you're paying premium for labor, and then you're trying to sell it at the cheapest price, like that's a master plan to go broke, is what that is. And so I really just was like, I want a product that people can feel good, that people can strive to. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want the most expensive product on the market. I just want something people can strive to. And I remember saving up for my first build, and when I finally held it in my hands, I was like, man, I saved for weeks and worked overtime and did all this stuff to get this, and now it's finally here. And that's the feeling I want people to have when they get our rifles. I want them to feel like, man, I saved, I did what I had to do, and now I got a Rostic Arms. And it's such a quality product that I can have this the rest of my life and I'm good. That's really what we go for. And if you truly buy once and it's quality, you don't even really cry once. Like you don't, it's not even a cry. It's almost like accomplishment. And that's really the feeling I want to create with my rifles is it's an accomplishment to own a Rostic Arms. Like it's a privilege. Like welcome to the club. That's what I want people to feel when they're buying our products. I don't want them to feel like I'll buy it once and then I just have to take it on the chin. Like no, I want them to be happy to be like, yes, I finally get a Rostic Arms.
Bro, that means a lot to me because there's so many times where I've wanted to support a brand or I've wanted to buy something and, you know, I had to save up. And then there's other times where I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy this, but really, I don't necessarily have the coin for it right now. So I'm going to, just think maybe in 6 months or a year and a half when I get real serious, I'll invest.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, with this project, with the Costly Conversations podcast, I had some of the foresight to just go ahead when I bought my first mic, go ahead and buy not the most expensive one, but one of them that has um, some pedigree to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
reliability, some legacy of excellence, and in that way, I know that I'm not giving like my second best to the not the end user, but my customers, my viewers, my listeners.
absolutely.
You know, and even with cameras, like for the broadcast, for those who are watching live, thank you so much for tuning in live. I see you guys in the chat. Appreciate you guys chatting back and forth. That said, people want to see a good picture, and I've seen so many podcasts. Not to make it about myself, but I've seen so many podcasts that are kind of trash,
Mm-hmm.
and not because that they
Mm-hmm.
want to be trash, but because they don't know how to handle some of the technical side of it. And so that's why I'm really excited because you having been in the manufacturing world, and I know you and my guy Randy, you guys are both really kind of savvy in that manufacturing side and kind of understanding what the CNC machines are like what do they even do, like you guys understand that. So I can appreciate that you guys are kind of like putting in that extra work and making sure that you specifically for the RA-15 aren't cutting corners, aren't kind of giving somebody, well,
Right.
now this is lower, it's gonna crack because it's just cheaply made, because there have been lowers that have cracked, and I've seen them with my
Oh
own
yeah.
eyes, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
oh, that's horrible. And the worst part is that's the part that's serialized. So now say you put a tag stamp on it, now you gotta just throw the whole thing away pretty much because
Mm-hmm.
it's no longer any good. And that's really kind of like, thank God that this guy is actually out here doing a good job, putting in work. He's not skimping on the corners, and he's putting out a product that he can believe in. And let's talk about the confidence that you have in this thing, because for some reason, I've known a lot of entrepreneurs and people who have hopped into this space, and in general, they they're not too confident. Like they have a good product, they have a good idea, but in reality, they're just kind of like, and it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of sad to see. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like,
I
what gives
do.
you the confidence to kind of like really do this thing and do it well, and really kind of get behind your own brand?
Well, one, uh, the biggest thing is I know who's counting on me, man. Like, it's bigger than me. Everything I've ever done is bigger than me, man. I got kids counting on me. I got a neighborhood of people that's counting on me. I got a wife that's counting on me. I got siblings that's still in the trenches that's counting on me. Like I understand what's at stake. I understand why I have to get it right. And so I I keep that with me every day in my pocket, man. I'm like it does give me the confidence. I would say what else gives me the confidence is I'm just very much a we gonna try, and if we fail, then we gonna all the way fail. Like if we gonna fail all the way to the bottom. So that way we learn every possible lesson there is to learn. We jump back in. And so I guess I just feel like I can't lose. And I'm not one of those people who say there's no such thing as an L or losses are just lessons. Losses are very much losses. I do a profit and loss. I never do a profit and lesson statement. So it's a profit and loss statement.
Ooh,
Um,
I
it's
love that.
funny that, I get what people try to say, but like, I'm a realistic businessman and I understand that there is a such thing as taking a loss, but it's like, losses can be leveraged, and I think that's the perspective that I try to keep. Um, so I just and there's no other way. Like if we don't do it, then who? Like because the other guys are doing it, and when the AR-15 space, especially the Knights armaments, you know what I mean? They're doing it. They're waking up every day and doing it, and there is no difference, man. There's no difference in because everybody who's in money didn't come from money. There's a lot of first generation millionaires out there who are just doing it, man. And so I just wake up every day and be like, why not me? Like, you know what I mean? That's crazy. My wife is like, she doesn't know how I get all this confidence either. And the truth of the matter is, I really just feel like what other option is there? Like to not be confident, you're not gonna succeed. So why not just be overly confident? Like let's just try to believe in our product and ourselves so much that even if we fail, it's gonna be the sexiest fail you ever seen. You're gonna be like, man, that rifle company went nowhere, but the 57 guns they did sell was the sexiest 57 guns we ever seen. Like that's just how I kind of just approach life, man. There's just no other way. The only other way is, just to go through the motions and then work for the guy who has the same confidence I got now. So I don't know, man. It's just kind of like an automatic thing. There's no other option, no other way for me.
Yeah, man. First of all, you're a quote machine. I just want to let you know that. Like I don't know what books you be reading, but just bars after bars. You should have been a rapper, maybe, or
I used to be.
maybe this is your calling. You said you
I
used to
used
rap.
to be, man. Nah,
You
I'm
used to rap.
retired. I used to be.
There you go. Well, you know what? It's not for everybody, but I love what you said, where it's like the profit and loss statement, like that's what you have to deal with. You know,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily lessons. Yes, it's a lesson, but there are losses, and you have to, go out with a bang. Like you shouldn't lose because of a lack of trying.
Right.
Like if you lose, go all out. Like don't give up in the third quarter and be like, oh, you know what, we tried, guys. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Right.
You didn't
Right.
try. Try is 4 quarters of try. Like get it. So, and I love what some of the audience members are saying. Like only way to go forward. Oh, sorry, that's the only way to go is it's forward.
That's
And
it, man.
obviously speaking things into existence, and there is a power in our words and our positivity, even in that.
Man,
So I
can I touch
appreciate
on
that.
that, please,
Yeah,
bro?
go for it, bro.
Because like
Get it.
that is one of the biggest things is I never speak ill of myself. I never say what if I can't, man. Your tongue is so powerful, man. I believe I'm a man of faith, man, and I just believe that being made in God's image, God created the world by speaking things. Like he said it, then he saw it. And that's just how I live my life. I say it and I see it. I never say I can't. I never say I'm lost. I never say I'm sick. I never say those things. I never say I can't do it. I'm defeated. I feel frustrated. I don't say those things. Like I speak to the situation. This may be frustrating or this may be whatever, but man, your words are so powerful. And I only tell myself I can. And I mean, when I started this thing, I'm looking at bank account balances of zero. I'm looking at credit cards maxed. I'm looking at savings accounts like lower than they ever been, trying to just do something that I see. And I never said I was broke. I never said, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just kept saying, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out a way. And if I got to skip Chick-fil-A all month, whatever that is, whatever it looked like, because I got to get these lower parts kits in. I got to make sure I got cutters for these CNCs to run. I got to make sure that I got the right program for this project. And like whatever it is, we just got to keep figuring it out, man. I never, ever, ever speak ill of myself. And I don't want to some people think the manifestation thing is spooky, but it's whatever you want to call it, rather it's being positive, rather it's affirmations, whatever people want to word it as. It's in business, you cannot speak ill, man. You got to watch your words because everything I've been saying is coming to pass. And so I'm very, very cautious with what I say.
Yeah, man, you gotta be careful with what you say because not only does it affect yourself psychologically, and some people would even say spiritually, and I tend to lean on that as well. But you never know who's listening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I got a 3 year old, and she repeats everything I say, whether it was intended to be good or not. You know, like I didn't even mean for her to say. I said it under my breath, and now she's saying it too. And I'm like, oh God, no, don't do that, don't do that. And I'm not talking about bad words. I'm just saying like maybe I'll say something kind of sarcastically, and all of a sudden, there she goes, saying something sarcastically too. And so
Yeah.
that is the interesting piece. So definitely, you never know who's listening, whether it's somebody who is coming after you, whether it's a young child or whoever. You never know who's listening, and you got to make sure you kind of are mindful of how you're speaking, who you're speaking to, and
Absolutely.
even who's not listening, or who you don't know is listening per se. Yeah. So yeah, man. But let's talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial spirit, because I think that's interesting. How many businesses are you currently running as we speak?
Oh man. Um, I would say as far as legal business entities, I'm running three.
You said legal
Um,
business entities. You mean like actually like on the books?
yeah, yeah, like
Okay.
I mean like paying our taxes quarterly, pay like you know what I mean, like on the books, three.
Yeah.
Um, but I got my hands in just like all type of stuff because I just want to learn everything, and I that's how I spend my money, man. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't really have hobbies. I just want to learn stuff, so I pay to learn stuff. Like I'm like, oh, what kind of business you got over there? I want to learn that, so let me spend X amount of dollars to try to learn that.
Yeah, man. No, that's interesting because there's a lot of people who, when given the opportunity to learn, they want to do it for free. I'm a big I think I can learn it for free type of guy, um, where it's like there's a YouTube video for everything. So let's hop on YouTube. Let's do a lot of research. But I kind of wonder if I'd be so much further ahead if all the things that I needed to know for this specific adventure that I'm on, if it was compiled into kind of more one or two or three spaces, and I could have kind of fast passed it per se, like a Disney fast pass, and just
Man,
okay,
bro.
I'm gonna sit down for 3 4 hours, watch this tutorial. Yeah, I paid to watch it, but it's in one place. Where do you go for your knowledge that you've paid for per se?
So because I used to be the YouTube University guy too. I always tell people I got my degree from YouTube University. Because I tried college multiple times. It just didn't work for me. So I would YouTube stuff and just try it, spend my own money trying to learn things. But I really just figure out who is the expert at what it is I'm trying to do. So even when it came to like my rifles or my FFL business, period, I went to an FFL, and I was always taught, rather it was the way I grew up in the street or even in corporate America, when you want somebody's attention, when you really want mentorship, spend money with them. And so this guy, who actually is one of my mentors now, again, shout out to Steve, great guy. I just made sure that I just went to his shop and I just spent money. And I would just go to his shop unnecessarily and just buy something. I never went in his presence and didn't buy something from him. And I just always wanted him to know, like I was supporting his business, whatever. I would be very clear and transparent about what I was trying to do, but I just kind of brought him to me. And then, I mean, eventually he was like, who is this guy? Like every other week he's spending $1,000 in here. Like, who is this guy? And then, helping my wife understand, like, yeah, I'm spending a lot of money, but I got a plan. And I sure it works every time. I got this guy's attention. And one day we went to dinner and he was like, what is it that you're trying to do? And I was just like, I want to be a FFL. I want to be a manufacturer. I want to put out my own rifles. I want, just like Glock is somebody's last name, just like Smith and Wesson are just people's last names. I want a Rostic Arms, and I know you know how to do that, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to do that. But by then, I spent so much money with him. He was more than happy to walk me through the process. This is who you do. In fact, because you're in this reason, this is going to be your ATF field agent. You can call them ahead of your appointment and do this. Tell them I sent you. Oh, by the way, you can get parts from over here. If you want to do a practice, I'm doing this, and this for this customer. Come into the shop and watch. And before you knew it, he ended up becoming like one of my best friends. But I had to just get his attention because YouTube will show me. YouTube will tell me step by step how to do it, but nothing beats the interaction with the person saying, call this person, tell them I sent you, or call this company, this is my rep, tell them I told you that you want him. And like those types of things are priceless, man. And I still go to him and just be like, man, this doesn't work. How do I do this? And then he'll tell me, and then I'll still make sure that I spend some money with him, right? Because I don't have to necessarily put it in his hand, but I want him to know I appreciate him. And that type of help and leverage goes so much further than just a YouTube video. You know, a lot of people think that if people aren't giving out knowledge for free, that they're gatekeeping knowledge. And I just don't agree with that, right? Like, it costs everybody something to get somewhere. And so if I'm trying to get where you are, the only currencies to me that it can accelerate a process is time or money. And if I don't have the time to learn myself, then I use that money as that accelerator to say, hey, I'm spending this with you. I'm trying to get your attention. And once I got it, I sit down and say, teach me the game. And then I make sure that with my actions, I express that gratitude so they know how grateful I am for every drop of knowledge I got. Hopefully I answered your question because I get passionate on that type stuff.
No, that actually makes a lot of sense, and I've been there too, where I feel like, people should be willing to give away information for free, and maybe they'll be interested in hopping in and helping out one of the little guys like myself. Especially when I first got started, I had to kind of learn, like, you do need to bring a certain amount of value to the table when you're in the presence of business people. So definitely, I can respect that, and that mindset shift, because if you're an entrepreneur, your time is actually worth something. And so if
Absolutely.
somebody doesn't spend money with you, or if somebody's really not interested in kind of adding to what you're doing, and they just want to take what you have and bring it to themselves, like, what is it that you have, like, what's the transaction? It doesn't
Right.
make sense, and if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. So that's just kind of the thing. So definitely, I can appreciate that soliloquy, and I can appreciate the wisdom hopefully the audience is getting when it comes to interacting with people who are out here in the space actually making moves.
Yeah,
So
man. I appreciate it. And I don't want people to walk away thinking I'm saying you have to just drop a bunch of money and that's how you get where you're going. But just realize that one day you're going to be the big homie. Like, my OGs always used to tell me growing up, like, one day you going to be the OG and people going to come to you. And it's like, you got to get their attention somehow, man. Like, you got to, you know what I mean? Shot Show was a perfect example. I was at several after events or after parties with people who just, they didn't have a reason to talk to me. Even a lot of people think Shot Show is just a big YouTube thing, right? And
right.
it's so much bigger than that. But you have to give these people a reason to talk to you. If you just walk up with a camera and point it in their face and say, "Oh, I want to do an interview on,"
Looks like we kind of lost you a little bit there. We're gonna give you a second to kind of reconnect, but definitely want to say thank you to everybody who's hopped in and is watching live. We have a few people in from both the YouTube channels. Thank you guys so much. So I'm gonna take a look at some of these questions and statements, and yeah. So obviously, my guy Black Owned World, he said, "I am a graduate of the YouTube University. Also, yes, the University of YouTube is real. And guess what? There's a lot of people who have gained a whole lot of information from YouTube. However, if you cannot kind of stair step into something else, such as going from what you learned on YouTube to actually making some real dollars and cents, like what's the point? Um, let me see. Randy, I see you're late. I loved what our guy Rostic said, and he's coming back in, but give him a second. He said, a plan to go broke. All right. Looks like he's right back in, so let's go ahead and bring him on. My guy, okay, we're back live.
All right.
So, yeah, sorry, connection. So, I did want to talk about what you feel is your greatest failure in business, or maybe one of your biggest regrets. Um, maybe it's from a different business, but I do also want to talk about in developing the RA-15, the rifle of choice for every shooter going forward.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
is your, I guess, biggest kind of regret or moment you're like, dang, I wish I would have did that a little bit differently, but we're gonna have to make do.
Um, I think my biggest business failure is I had a screen printing shop. It's interesting. I was just talking about it on Instagram this morning because I made a Black History shirt, and there's a local grocery chain who I pitched to them to sell my shirt, and they told me that, they weren't interested. The black messaging and stuff was too much. And now they're coming out with a Black History line that one of their shirts, word for word, says exactly what mine says in a very similar design. And I think it's interesting. Like, one of the things that I did was I scaled too fast when I had my business. I Money was just flowing in, and it was crazy. As one of my boys would say, we were making money like the guys in the 80s. Like, it was crazy. We were making this kind of money off of t-shirts. And so I went and bought a shop. I bought more screen print equipment. I bought all of this stuff. And I never accounted for the times that it would slow down. And I don't know. I don't know how to explain that rush that you get when it's like you getting so much business that you almost can't, like, you can't even believe it. Like, man, we made 2,000 yesterday. We about to make double that today. Like, and there was just no account for the slowdown or the rainy days or the times in between Christmas but before taxes drop where nobody's buying anything. We didn't account for those types of things. And so as we kept blowing up, we just kept growing. And then we kept buying equipment and we kept buying things. And then one day it was almost like somebody hit a light switch. And then for like 8 weeks straight, no money came in the door. But now I got all this overhead because I bought all this machinery and I got this shop and I got this events planned. And then some of my biggest customers are backing out because economic times are changing. And before I knew it, I was just looking up. I was just sitting in my shop one day like, man, I can't even adjust. Like, I can't even adjust with the market because I'm so deep in overhead that I there's no room to move. And so I had to liquidate a bunch of things, meaning I had to just get rid of stuff for cash just to open my cash flow back up. And then as things pick back up, then all of a sudden I feel like I lost uh, the stuff I needed in order for things to flow smooth when they pick back up. So you just got to account for that type of stuff, bro. Like,
Okay, well, definitely, I love the transparency there, and I appreciate that. You know, the difficulty of overextending yourself in that first few um, minutes, whether it's the first few months where you feel like things are really going well and you kind of have a promise of making money, but also considering like, okay, now that we've made money, did we save something for the tax man, or did we kind of get to a point where we are ready for um, a rainy day per se, because that's a big deal. And being ready for the rainy day, being ready for the tax man, being ready for all the things that kind of come. And people get to a point where they're like, oh well, if anything happens, I got a credit card, so I'm just I'm gonna just ball out and spend this thing right now. Well, maybe that's not the move. So I appreciate
Right.
what you said with that, and thank you for kind of going over that, man. I appreciate that. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but talking about taxes, I suppose taxes aren't really the sexy topic, but what are is there any like little tip or trick that you have for maybe an aspiring business owner or somebody who feels like they're trying to come up a little bit in regards to, I suppose, the tax game per se?
Man, just stash half of what you make. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's crazy. We used to learn that, like I said, running the streets as a little kid. Um, the people in my neighborhood, all the cats with the money on the fly cars, the whatever, even they knew they had to pay taxes. And so, like, I was just always taught stash half of what you make. If you got $100, you only got $50. If you got $20, you really only got $10. I'm teaching my kids the same thing now. Like, okay, whatever you got for Christmas, that $300, you only got 150. The rest you put away. Um, because that it happens. It comes, man, and it comes. And last thing you wanted to do is get caught with your hand in the cookie jar and ain't no cookies left in there. So man, just tuck half of what you make, which is important too for entrepreneurs to have more than one stream of income like that. That was very, very important for me because that probably, even with my screen print business, it was my only source of income at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything depended on that stream, taxes, overhead, uh, bills, my wife and kids, my hobbies and interests, my family, my mom who I got to buy dinner for. Everything depended on that one stream. And so, so many people are anxious to quit their jobs and whatever. I tell you, even now, 2023, if stuff get tight, I'll jump back in the factory job in a heartbeat and knock out 6 months,
Ooh,
8 months. And
a lot of people too proud for that. Like
man,
they're not about to do it.
I will jump on a high low. I will be a supervisor. I'll do it. I'll work third shift, whatever I need to do to keep my dream alive. Because this, at the end of the day, this is the dream, right? And if this requires me to have to work 2 jobs, if this requires me to have to work third shift, if this requires me to have to have that talk with my wife, like, hey, for the next 3 months, ain't no going out to eat. We're going to eat at home. We're going to grocery shop. We're going to budget. After this 3 months, if you let me grind this 90 days, after this 90 days, we can go wherever you want to. We can do whatever you want to. I will buy you I will buy you wine aged as far as you can count. But for now, it's potatoes, peanut butter and jelly, and Rostic Arms, and that's what it is. Like, so as entrepreneurs, you can't be too proud, man. You gotta have more than one stream of income. That's why I'm also a firearms instructor. That's why I'm a trainer counselor. I certify other people to become firearms instructors. That's why I do YouTube. Right now, that money is starting to come in. I just did a sponsorship deal with this company, Black on Ammo. Uh, I constantly try to keep money flowing in and then divert it to buckets. So there's a bucket for savings, a bucket for taxes, a bucket for my personal budget, a bucket for the business budget, bucket for vacation. Like, I'm really, really trying to keep money flowing in from all angles. And if sometimes that means everything I just said is slow and it's time to get a job, then we finna go get a job. Like, at the end of the day, who cares? If you have too much pride for a job, you got too much pride to be an entrepreneur, because we are some of the most hard grinding, hustling people there are. Like, we set the tone for the rest of the world to follow, especially my black gun entrepreneurs, everybody black in the gun industry. We set the tone and the tempo for our culture. And if that means that we have to go get jobs because this ain't working like it's supposed to at this moment, cool. Like, what's the problem? I'll never understand that, man. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make sure that my business is successful, to make sure that my children eat every day, to make sure my wife has the life of her dreams, That's what I'm gonna do, bro. And if that means get a job for 6 months and then the next 6 months go hard at the business and the next 3 months I'm on vacation with the wife and then I have to go back and I'm gonna do whatever it takes, man, because too many people are counting on us to be prideful.
Dude, that's crazy. You said a lot. Like steady dropping gems, like a freaking diamond mine over here. So one of the things that really caught my attention, and that's just because I'm in the space, and obviously you look at me, you can tell. I hope that I'm a black dude in the gun space, and there are some, but there are not nearly the number that it could be. Just
Hmm.
nature of the beast at this point, and I think we can do more. I think we can do more, but this really interesting thing I noticed. I was looking through some of my old, um, I guess, interactions on Instagram. That's kind of where we started originally,
Hmm.
and I noticed a lot of people that used to be in this space, especially when I first showed up. They're not here no more. And
Hmm.
I'm not saying that boastfully, like there's something special about what I'm made of, or because honestly, if I was anybody else, I would not be here right now just because it's not made this the kind of money that it should make and all the different
Yep,
things that
yep.
people would expect. But I'm just like, dang, like the guys, shout out to the guys who, first of all, shout out to the Patreon guys. I see you guys in the chat. Thank you so much. You really do make
Yeah.
this a little bit easier. Um, a little bit easier to explain to the wife. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
and also shout out to the guys like yourself who, whenever you started it and you had the courage to continue, because there's a lot of people who came in. This is a fun thing. 2020. Okay, everybody's got guns. Everybody's on Instagram. We're shooting. We're making some content, but Instagram was acting funny. Instagram didn't really show the content, so we dipped. We're
Hmm.
gone. And so shout out to the people who have that perseverance in them. Not to say that the people who couldn't do it or found better ways to spend their time, you know, are doing something wrong per se, but I have a special level of appreciation for the guys who they realize, okay, so this is kind of a dry season. This is kind of going slow, but they're still out here, still making content, still interacting, still building community in this space, in the Black 2A space specifically, but really
Hmm.
contributing to 2A as a whole, setting the tone for everybody because they were willing to remain, even though it wasn't necessarily super fruitful. And I'm not saying that's the right move for everybody, but I can appreciate it. So I appreciate you for building up to the YouTube to a point where you're making videos and you're seeing some of the reward. I think that's awesome. There
Yeah.
needs to be more folks in the 2A space on YouTube. A lot of people are getting scared right now because YouTube's doing a lot of stupid stuff with the magazine bans and all that stuff. But guess what? We still need to put stuff out there because there's curious minds. There literally, I have a video that I put up the other day where people saw it and was like, "Wow, I'm gonna go get this now," because they have questions. There's people with questions, people who are brand new to the space, and we need to make sure that we are remain available to them.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that, and thank you for being in the YouTube space. Let's talk a little bit about your YouTube side, and then I think it would be good to take some questions. I see we have a few people
Yeah,
in the
for
chat
sure.
right now, and if you
For
guys have
sure.
any
What's
questions
up, y'all?
for D, just go ahead and just drop them in, and we'll do
And
what we can.
anything, man, anything. If y'all wanna, if you wanna be a manufacturer, you like, hey, who you get your lower parts kits from? Who you wanna drop it in the comments, man? Because I'm all about giving game.
Yeah, guys, like for real, go ahead and drop some comments, and we'll try to answer some of these questions. But talk about the YouTube side. Like, how'd you kind of get into it, and kind of where did things go from jump?
Man, so I started off YouTube because I was a firearms instructor and people were asking me about guns. Like, so they would take my class, Concealed Carry Home Defense Fundamental. Shout out to the USCCA. USCCA helped change my life, man. Just giving me an opportunity to be an instructor. This is all I do all day, every day. Is teach classes, make guns, and sell them. So I was teaching classes, and people would ask me, well, what do you think about the PSA dagger? What do you think about Smith and Wesson versus Glock, and I started off just making videos, trying to tell them what I thought about stuff, do like little gun reviews, but more or less from the perspective of like a lot of people want an instructor who's like them. So in my city, people know me. I came from the hood. I'm well known, well respected. So people want to know my take on stuff because they feel like they can relate to it. And it kind of just went from doing that for my students to then this whole community of people on YouTube who value my opinion, even if it's just to fight with me. So I accidentally made a video that went somewhat viral. I made a video about why I sold all my Canics and switched to Glock. And in reality, I was just trying to tell people when you, because Canics, I'll go on record and say the guns are much better than Glocks. But I still carry a Glock 19 because of, aftermarket support, not just reliability, because I think reliability is subjective and more companies are becoming as reliable as Glock. But Glock has great aftermarket support and availability of parts. I could throw a rock in a gun store and hit a Glock 19 part. I have to go to a very specific niche store to try to find parts for a Canic. And that's all I was trying to explain to people. But I took two companies that had cult followings, and they're still thousands of comments later. It's still my #1 watch video every month. That's like 90 something thousand views. And I'm just like, how? But then I was like, oh, okay, so people like this. They like when I actually have these types of debates. And then I kind of started playing in that space. And before I knew it, it just took off. And I actually started showing other people how to do it, like just monetizing their opinions. Because all I did in that video was state an opinion and just teaching people your opinion is worth something. And so I just started leading by example, saying, hey, I'm going to just start stating my opinion on everything in the two-way community. I'm going to talk about the biggest mistakes I think concealed carriers are making, biggest mistakes I think instructors are making. And then before I knew it, I just had a whole community of people who just want to talk gun stuff with me. And so I just did it over and over. And then all of a sudden I got monetized. And now I went from monetized to sponsorships and things like that. And when people wouldn't give me sponsorships, I just started making my own stuff and sponsoring myself. So if you watch some of my videos, you'll see Rostic Arm ads, you'll see Smart Shooter clothing ads in my videos. I'm going to sponsor myself. And then other people saw it, and now it's turning into something that I'm like, oh, this is nice. It's becoming a stream of income versus just a check I would get randomly or something. So that's kind of how I went, man. Just monetizing my opinion and realizing that my opinion was worth money.
Man, my opinion was worth money. Put that on a t-shirt. So no, but for real, like that is something that I found to be like powerful in the content creation space. For some reason, you start messing with people's brands and they either get really offended or something. Because this is the power in confirmation bias is insane. Like I made a video, my most viewed video at this moment. My YouTube isn't completely bussing, but my most viewed video at this moment, it's got tens of thousands of views at this point, or I think it's at 17K. Next year it'll be at 1 million. That's just kind of how it's going.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a Hellcat video, and I'm making this face where I'm just like literally thinking it deep in thought, and the thumbnail says, "Does it suck?" Springfield Hellcat. Or should you buy a Springfield Hellcat? And I really wasn't trying to tear apart the gun or anything. I just had some questions, and ultimately, other than the snap, I thought it was fine. Anybody can, run the gun and run it okay with some practice. And the amount of people that really thought I was trying to come for their gun, it was insane. And I really think that that's the reason why the video did so well, versus some of the other ones that were okay. And it was not even like super controversial. I was like, does it suck? Does it not? It's okay. Like there's nothing wrong with it per se. Like if you run it and you like it, that's cool. upset. I had people, it's not snappy. And I'm going to tell you what I told my other guy who was in the, I did another interview with my guy, Memphis Beach. Y'all should go check out his YouTube channel and podcast because I'll be
Okay.
featured on his show in a few weeks. Go ahead and check his stuff out. Um, I said, there's guys out there who they wake up in the morning, they head over to the gas station and they chug a pint of a diesel, and they're like, I shoot 45s in my sleep. Okay, well, I don't necessarily
Right.
enjoy shooting the original Hellcat, the Hellcat Pro. I've been running that, Glock 19s, anything much nicer, CC Shadow 2. It's a dream. If you've never shot that, go shoot it. And then again, don't, because you'll never want to shoot anything else. But
Yeah,
just,
and I'll go on record and say Hellcat suck too.
you and freaking where are you still here, Randy? Are you still here in the chat? Freaking he hates it, which is it's fine. Like, you don't have to like every gun, but
Right, you
point
don't.
being, point being is people get really tribal and you monetize the haters. Unfortunately, that's
That's it.
kind of what happens.
That's it, man. That's
You
it.
know,
And as I teach my students in CPL classes, man, I was like, I'm not a Glock guy. I'm not a SIG guy. I'm just a good gun guy.
mm,
I teach my students to be good gun guys and good gun girls. Like, just get a good gun. Like, if it
yeah,
runs for you and it works, forget the brand. How does it feel? How was the reliability? What was the recoil like? Can you grip it properly
hmm
with rapid fire, right? Because we know incidents happen fast and close, right? Can you maintain a proper grip while you're rapid firing that gun? Like, those are the types of things we talk about.
yeah.
And yeah, I could care less about a brand, but the Hellcat does suck.
Well, definitely, if you're trying to rapid fire, it doesn't matter how close you are. It's going to hop out your hand, and you got to reestablish that grip. And if you have to
That's it.
really reestablish the grip multiple times, maybe you should get something that's either a little bigger or rides a little
Mm-hmm.
differently. Either way, there are ways to understand if a gun works well for you, and some people do feel like the Hellcat's not as good as the competition, as Mr. Randy Brooks, one of the great sponsors and supporters of the show. Go shop with him. I have some links in my bio. If you go to my Instagram and stuff,
Yeah,
you'll see it
shout
all
out to
there.
Randy. That's my
Um,
guy, man.
if
That's
you
a great
shop
guy.
with obsidiantraininggroup.com, use the code Armed Atlas, and it will actually get you free shipping. So Amazon type stuff. Go
What?
ahead, get you some stuff. And shipping's the big cost. So I think really he's kind of
I,
giving away the farm.
I'm trying to
So
figure out why smart shooters don't got a code. We gonna talk to Randy on the back end.
yeah, you should probably hit him up because Smart
Yeah,
Shooters needs a code.
we need. Come on, we need a code, man. We need a code.
Get it. So we actually do have some questions here.
Yeah, for sure.
But before we get into the questions, I did want to say thank you. I know you, and we don't have to get really deep into it. I know you've gone through some serious family stuff recently, and so I
Yeah,
want to say
yeah,
thank you for coming on the show in spite of the recent tragedy in your family. So thank you for that sacrifice. I appreciate it.
bro, man. Listen, it means a lot to me, man. And briefly, my older brother was murdered last Friday. Um, it was rough, bro. It was really rough. But it's crazy because my brother used to make fun of me. He used to be like, "Man, everybody love you. We can't go nowhere without somebody showing you love. We could be in a whole nother state." And I mean, this was heavy, man. Like, it was heavy. My older brother, he meant a lot to me, and so just the way my city, the 2A community, the way people just loved on me, man, and not like, there's the people that's gonna say, if you need anything, let me know. But then there was people who was like, hey, I found your Cash App. I sent your family $100. Dinner on us tonight. Like, you know what I mean? Stuff that I didn't even need, or I didn't even know that I needed, right? Like, because it wasn't about the money, it was the love. Like, somebody loved me enough to be like, hey, your brother just died, man. I don't want you to have to worry about dinner. So, like, I wanted to take a second. Even with you, bro, your constant check-ins, man, just making sure I felt up to this, and I needed to get my mind back on gun mode and be productive, man. I just planned this funeral today with my sister,
Mm,
and I needed something to get me back being productive. And so just to you and to everybody out there who's been supporting me. Um, thank you so much, man. Like, I could get emotional just off the support, bro, because especially the two-way community, man, y'all stepped up and loved me in a different kind of way, man. And I don't take love lightly. My mom always taught me people don't have to be nice, man. So thank y'all from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, man. So thank you for saying that, and we want to just honor your brother's memory and in this moment, and we appreciate you sharing those things, and of course, obviously, all the people, excuse me, all the people who have reached out to you, who have shown your family love in this time. I want to take a second and appreciate them because you
Yeah,
never know who you've got. Like, and sometimes it
yeah,
really doesn't feel like there's anybody there at times. So you never know who you got until something bad happens and you're just like, dang, like, what's left? And so thankfully, you do have some good people in your corner supporting you,
yeah.
whether it be someone sending a little something on Cash App or giving you a phone call and just recognizing that, you guys
Man,
are going
just
through
hitting
something.
me up to say, hey, I love you and I'm praying for you, man.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much, man. And I know it's a couple people even on this chat who just sent me a text. I was just like, hey, bro, thinking about you. That stuff mean the world to me, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you for saying that. We're about to get into the question, but for those who are maybe just tuning in right now, I see She Fires in the chat. Thank you for hopping in. Love your
Yeah,
support.
what's
I
up?
love
What's
what you're
up?
doing. She Fires is awesome. If you guys haven't tuned into the She Fires YouTube channel and all the stuff she's doing on Instagram and stuff, you're missing out. Like truly missing
Yeah,
out. So
go follow ASAP. Like, and she showed
absolutely.
my love too. So, what up? What
Absolutely.
up?
Yeah, yeah. So we do want to just say, thank you to everybody who's tuned in. If you are not subscribed at this point to the YouTube channel, even if you're listening on the podcast side, I don't know what you're doing. I thought we was friends. I don't want you to like. I don't want you to leave any more comments. I just want you to subscribe or go home. Like I don't. I'm playing, but no,
Yeah,
for real. Like subscribe. Like we need it. We do need to get this channel to a point where it's at 1,000 subscribers, and this channel's not currently there. I don't know why. So let's get it. Let's make it happen.
let's get it
And
there. Let's do it.
if not, I don't know. So appreciate you guys. Let's get into some of these questions. Q&A time. So
Yeah, let's do it.
do. Let's guys. So what we're gonna do for the audio only listeners, I'm gonna roll the outro. If you guys want to watch the Q&A, hop over to YouTube and hit me up. So outro's rolling. 3, 2, 1. Thank you for listening, and hop over to YouTube for the rest of the show. And we're back. Thank you guys for sticking around. We have some questions right now in the chat. Trying to make sure that we have everything. Yeah, so we got 3 really good questions that I have here. First of all, you're doing the AR-15 or RA-15 per se. That's the designation. I love the look.
Mm-hmm.
You have 2 versions. The basic one, basic, even though it's
Mm-hmm.
solid. I don't like the name basic. What do you call it? Do you call it basic?
I just call it the base.
The base model. Okay, base model
Yeah,
sounds better than basic. I used the wrong word. I apologize. So the
no
base
worries.
model, but I feel like it's a premium product anyways. What are the specs of the RA-15 and I guess the RA-15 premium? What are the specs?
So I mean, it's a 16-inch barrel, a 1 in 7 twist rate. You got. Let's just walk through it, cause why not? I mean, you got handguards. We're still experimenting. We get mixed reviews on handguards. So a lot of people like 13.5. A lot of people like 15. Um, Midwest Industries makes our handguards. We don't make them ourselves. And that's another thing. As you guys are starting out and you guys get into this stuff, don't be afraid to outsource parts and stuff, right? Like, we don't CNC everything, nor would I lie and give you the perception that we do, right? Eventually we will, but right now we don't. So you got a mid-length gas system on here, 70-75. billet aluminum. Our base model has just a mil spec parts kit. We are playing with ambidextrous safeties and things like that. If you guys go to my Instagram or watch us on YouTube, our FDE model is our test model. So we're trying to, it's nice growing this company because we're using real-time feedback to make the adjustments. So even if I say a spec now and you guys are hearing things and you're like, but why wouldn't you do this instead? Hit us up because you may help us get to the next thing. But the base model is pretty mil spec, minus the exception of some mag pull accessories. It's really your mil spec rifle, but just not the cheap chintzy parts that you would get. Bro, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
None of y'all let me know that y'all couldn't hear me. Sorry. So, real quick, make sure you are tuned in to the youtube.com/@costlypod. Make sure if you're on the Armed Atlas channel, make sure you hop over and do that. So, real quick, let's get back to what you were saying. You cut out talking about the handguard and things like that. Um, let's kind of get back to that. Was there anything else you wanted to cover?
So I was really just saying, our base model, with the exception of some better quality components, better charging handles, mag pull, grip and stock. I was saying that basically our base model is mil spec. The one that I have actually is the first one that we're trying without a forward assist. Uh, and so, those are the types of things that we want feedback on. And the beauty of our company is that we get real time feedback and we can make the adjustments like that because I'm building and running production every day. So if people say, I want a 14.5 pin and welded, or if somebody says, hey, maybe you should try this brand of charging handles or whatever, we can do it pretty real time. And if the upgrade is something that I feel like the greater good can benefit from, then we'll just completely change that part out on the base model. And depending on the level of customer, a lot of times we'll just upgrade theirs for free. Like, hey, we tried this, it works better. Here's one for you.
Hey, you know what? I mean, treating your customers right. Honestly, that's like one of the biggest things. That's the only reason why I still shop with certain companies. Like whether if their product kind of goes out here and there or it gives me issues, the only reason why I still mess with them is because, I hit them up and they're like, "Well, your stuff was out of warranty like a year ago, but like for real, like some products they should last for more than a year." But we'll take care of you. We'll send something out or we'll make it easy for you to upgrade and we won't, make it some big
Yeah.
thing. And so I'm like, okay, cool. That's why I still rock with this company. That's why I still mess with this one. Um, so I can appreciate that. Obviously, I appreciate the dedication you put into this rifle. Let's take a look at some of these other questions that we have. Here we go. Uh, well, this is an interesting one. Any thoughts on the brace rule? I don't know if that affects this rifle per se because it was designed as a 16, if I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
mistaken. But
yeah.
what are your thoughts on the brace rule?
Um,
Guess we should get
I
some
am
context.
I am anti-bracism.
Ooh,
These people, yeah, that shirt's coming. Don't worry about it. But
yeah,
um, my best advice would be for people to wait it out. The ATF gave us 120 days to comply. My advice is don't comply. But I'm not telling you not to comply completely. What I'm saying is there's tons of lawsuits that are getting filed. There's people fighting on our behalf. I know Firearms Policy Coalition and a few other places. Vet those people out. Make sure you get behind one that you actually agree with. But those are other things that I don't mind putting a couple dollars to, for people to fight on our behalf. But I don't agree with the brace rule. I don't agree that the ATF should make any laws. They don't have law making powers. Like, no, they just wake up one day and just decide something's illegal, and then everything's got to change. I don't agree with that. But I do agree with having conversations, and I wish the ATF would be more conversation forward and really trying to even understand the resistance that they're getting, right? Because we don't just rebel to rebel. We don't not comply for the sake of not complying. There's a method to the madness, and there's usually some sort of need that that rule would violate in order to get the type of reaction and rebellion that they get. So my best advice would be, let's wait it out. Let's see what comes of these lawsuits and do what's best for you. I'm not going to tell anybody to disobey the law or anything like that. But what I will say is do what makes sense to keep you and your family safe.
All right, all right. Yeah, and just to reiterate, we're not giving legal advice. Me nor Daryle. It's not legal advice.
Absolutely not.
Oh, obey your local, state, federal laws, whatever.
I
But
got a guy, though. If you need legal advice, I got a guy.
of course you do, of course. But obviously, there's more than one way to skin the cat, and just don't get in trouble. But you're an adult. Ultimately, you can make adult
Yeah,
decisions,
absolutely.
and I think you should make adult decisions. So make adult decisions, but don't get in trouble needlessly, especially if you
At
have
all.
stuff to lose. There's many ways to um, not get in trouble without destroying your own products, and also without giving your guns to the government or signing up for registration to be part of somebody's
Yeah.
list, because I think that's messed up. And also, quick thought: there's a lot of guys who are like, "Don't comply," but they're the same ones who bought suppressors. Who That's a compliance thing, and they also did a bunch of other stuff. I know this is a side issue, but you know, I just I think we should look at this holistically. And
Yeah. Play chess.
if all the guys who have purchased tax stamps, I'm not saying you're a bad person if you did. I think you're a fine human being. But if all the guys who have purchased tax stamps in the past have collectively put their tax stamp dollars to basically abolishing the NFA and letting people know, like, we don't need this anymore. This is not current. This is not modern. Like, there's other things you can do to kind of keep people safe, and it's not really making it so it's almost impossible to get a suppressor without waiting a year, or turning yourself into a felon if your barrel is just a little too short in a not pending weld. So
Right, right.
I think there's foolishness there. So thank you for answering that question. Another really good question that we have here is from my guy Kiwi Dog. He's actually one of the Patreon folks, and much love to you, brother. So, question of the day: where do you teach people to become instructors? Can you certify instructors?
I can through the USCCA. I am what's considered a trainer counselor.
That's
So
right.
I do run those courses usually once or twice a quarter. We got one coming up March 12th and 13th, I believe it is. And I teach those all over. So right now I'm mainly in West Michigan. That's where I'm located. And so I travel all over the state of Michigan certifying instructors. This coming up course is going to be in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I believe again it's March 12th and 13th. But I have people who fly in and get hotels. I have people who are just local and they drive up the street. And so I also go other places and certify instructors. You just have to make sure that your state accepts USCCA curriculum. And you also have to make sure that you can accommodate my accommodations because, if I've traveled for classes as small as 4 people, but I mean, they made sure that I was well taken care of and it was worth traveling for 4 people. And so,
Right. Right.
um,
'Cause they don't work for free.
I'm
Or you just don't.
that's it, man. That's it. I do this all day, every day, and I treat it like that. And I take becoming an instructor seriously because so many people, um, I have to say this carefully because I don't want people, I do not like instructors who shun other instructors. I do not like people who their platform is made from them tearing down and taking shots at other instructors. But I also do not like trainer counselors who are just in it for the money and they just certify everybody. When you become an instructor, you have to make sure you can do what you instruct people on. And that is just major to me. I hold myself accountable to high standards, and I have people who hold me accountable to high standards. And so you need to make sure when you want to take that leap to become an instructor, that you're willing to live an instructor lifestyle, right? Like, because you become a subject matter expert for people. So when people say, "Hey, how does this look in comparison to our carry laws?" or even questions like what holster companies are reputable. Shout out Hilliker Holsters, by the way. It's who I work with. But you got to become that resource, and you got to hold yourself to a higher standard, man. I just can't stress it enough. I want to make sure that instructors understand the weight that you carry when you become an instructor.
Yeah.
And even me as a trainer counselor, if I certify you, I'm telling the world that I believe you are a credible resource to get knowledge, insight, and wisdom. And so just take that seriously, because I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can appreciate that. Unfortunately, we kind of entered a world like post 2020 where everybody and their mama, whether they were good for social media or good for instructing or not, hopped on social media and became an instructor like overnight. Like there was a course and they were good enough to pass it, and they're good at taking tests, and now we have people out
Right.
here just doing foolishness. And even more recently, I got kind of on my soapbox a little bit. I'm not an instructor, but I exist in the 2A space and somewhat in
Yeah.
the education space a little bit, just putting out content. Just and there's some crossover, but I've seen some stuff that is just wild. Like I saw a guy teaching a girl, and I think maybe she carries a gun for work, but she did like the thunderclap where she drew from a holster and she like clapped the gun. I'm like, yo, like what? Like, bruh, like what
Yeah.
are you doing? And then
Yeah.
and then had the audacity to say she followed all the fundamentals. Why? Like, why do
Yeah.
you do this to yourself? Why are you doing this to the people? Like, get out of oh my gosh. But you got to put content out there, but I feel like there is better content to put out there into the world. And ultimately, I'm trying to say, I agree with you 100%. You do need to be, you don't want to gatekeep and keep people out of a thing, even though, just because maybe they're not quite there yet. But you also don't want to just bring just everybody in who's really unqualified to teach. They don't have the right temperament. They don't have the right skill set. They don't understand. They don't understand at all, and they want to do this thing which has consequence. Guns have
Yeah.
consequences attached. Every single one, every single bullet, there's a consequence. So, and some of those are good. Some of those are not the best. So, I can appreciate that. Um, Last question that we have for right now, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up the show. What are
Yeah.
all the socials? Like, tell people where to find you, man.
Ah, man. So you can find Instagram, Facebook is Rostic Arms. You can also look up my firearms education company at Smart Shooters LLC. Um, you can search me personally, Daryle Rostic. I'm on all social media platforms. YouTube is just Smart Shooters LLC. And yeah, man, I try to be a little bit of everywhere. So um, lots of places you could find me, find what I got going on, what's next. I appreciate that question for sure.
Absolutely. And obviously, I want to say thank you for coming on the show, spending time, kind of putting up with some of the little technical difficulties. And,
Oh man,
you know,
what? No problem, bro. I made it to the big league. I'm on Costly Conversations.
you made it, bro.
I made it, bro. I made it to the
Yeah.
big league.
Yeah,
All my
man.
mama.
I'm happy that you're here, and I'm happy that we had a chance to talk about what you're doing. And I really hope that more people will kind of take a look. And I know you said you have an event coming up. Was it next week that you're doing over in your city? Are you still doing that?
Yeah, so actually we're gonna go up to my gun range. So I own a 10-acre gun range that we're slowly converting to a full gun range, and we got some sweet stuff planned. But on the 25th, we're gonna take everybody up there, and I'm gonna have about 5 base models and 5 RA-15 premiums, and just let people try them, feel the difference, and the shooting experience between them. give us their feedback. I think we're gonna raffle one off. I think it's gonna be kind of cool. So I just want to I always want to show my community love. I'm gonna rent a Mercedes Sprinter van and take at least 15 people with me up there. And so that's gonna be on the 25th of February, and I'm looking forward to that.
Man, I wish I could be there. That would be just the coolest thing. That said, we want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. We got somebody in the audience saying thank you as well. And I know you dropped
Oh
a
man,
ton of
appreciate you.
gems and just provided, if anything, an entertaining conversation. And I can appreciate that.
Yeah, man, no
So,
doubt. I thank you for having me, bro. I
yes,
really,
sir.
really appreciate it. Wait, I'm sorry. One thing, I promised somebody I would say this. All right. Um, as a black gun community, y'all, because I know we even talked about an example where somebody posted a video where somebody didn't do something right. We got to be careful how we call each other out. Um, we got to be careful what we do to people in front of people, because we teach people how to treat people. And the way that we have been calling each other out, or the way that people are starting threads about other instructors and things, I just been coming across stuff accidentally, and it's just not necessary, man. Like, believe it or not, the our counterparts, they watch everything we do, and they get so much enjoyment out of us tearing each other down, like we're doing the work for them. Um, we all have a community to serve. We all have, like, my following is so much deeper than the internet. I got real people in the hood scared of break-ins, fighting felonies. There's so many people who count on what we do on a day-to-day basis, man. Like, let's embrace each other with love. Shout out to my guy Will. I run and gun, man. I had a post where somebody who runs my social media posted something on smart shooters, and he was like, I don't know if you realize this, bro, but this wasn't set up right. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't, bro. I have somebody else post stuff for me, but I definitely let them know because it's a teachable moment. But the way he did it was so graceful, man. And I promised one of my dogs, he wants to get in this space bad, but is just so scared of, if he makes a mistake publicly, will he be dragged? Will people reshare him 100 times for the wrong reason? Listen, y'all, man, they already don't want us to have them. And especially now we playing in spaces, this manufacturing space. This is a space, to be honest with you, I'm not welcome in, right? I'm bullying my way into this space. Like, we gotta love each other, man, because it's so many other people who don't want to see us win in this space. So just think about that the next time you want to put laughing emojis or something. If it's a real teachable moment, then teach in that moment. All right, that's it. I promised my dog I would say that.
I can appreciate that. And I definitely, there is a line between addressing an issue, gracefully approaching somebody, and even getting shot down, because some people's pride will not allow them to be
Yeah,
addressed, and that's important to understand too, and kind of understanding who you can address and how to address it. Honestly, if you see somebody doing something wrong and you don't feel like you have the social credit clout to approach him, maybe if you know somebody like who's actually close with them, maybe you could say like, hey, bro, I see this. Maybe I'm seeing it wrong. Did you want to talk to your boy? I mean, there's
there's
ways to
so
do
many
it in
ways.
love, and maybe that's not even the approach. But there's so many ways to do it in love, and I think as an overall gun community, we've got to be good about not just dragging people and putting people down, but especially in the black shooting space, we do have to be really careful because there's people who think we're a joke,
Right?
and we do things to each other that kind of emphasize that, which is unfortunate. So let's not do that. Let's not do that. I'm gonna go ahead and sign out. Thank you so much for saying that, and of
Thanks, bro.
course, let's go ahead and do that. For those who are still tuned in at this point, thank you so much for watching. It means a lot to me that you guys choose to spend your time with me on the show, this platform, whether it's on the Armed Atlas side or in the Costly Conversations, Costly Pod side. Um, I'm just super thankful. If you want to support this work, the absolute best way to do it is to support monthly on patreon.com. When you do that, I'll send you a link to join the private Discord. It's a fun time in there. We can ask questions, we can share our moments. and I think it's really cool. And I'm gonna do more to be better about making things that are exclusive for those guys. I've been kind of bad about that, but I recognize that, so we're gonna make some changes. That said, I do want to say thank you so much for watching or listening, wherever you are, and of course, until next time, keep it costly.